let's go. Hey, are you ready? It's time for the Pwamps Show. Hey, are you ready? It's time for the Pwamps Show. Hey, Pwamps. Hey, Pwamps.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Pwamps.
Oh, hey everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pwamps Show Entertainment Edition. Like always, we're going to start with the news of what's been going on in the entertainment world. We start with the biggest thing that happened probably within the last couple weeks in the entertainment world. People have been really anticipating it ever since she went on the Kelsey podcast. Taylor Swift. She has dropped her new album, The Life of a Showgirl. Now, I'm going to be honest. For me, it didn't hit the same way that like 1989 did. I thought when 1989 dropped, it was like, whoa, this is Taylor Swift. Might even be her peak. So this was good, but not in the same era for me as 1989. But had a couple of great songs on there. Got to give a shout out to the song Father Figure, which I did think was really, really well done. Obviously, George Michael, that was his song. And anytime you see a song come back after a long time, it's been a while since George Michael passed away, it hits, and that tells you the legacy that person had. So to have Taylor Swift perform it and do a nice little rendition of it, I thought was very neat, it was very sweet, and it sounded really good. But the album is out now, and it is selling by the millions, apparently. So props to Taylor Swift on that, even though I'm still a 1989 guy. Now, next, what else do we have? Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco, they tied the knot this past weekend. Big, lavish wedding, tons of celebrities there, and they are finally married. There's been a lot of hype about it. Hey, we're finally getting together. It took place, and it was a big-time wedding. So congrats to Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco. So we go from one side of the rainbow to people getting married and coming together. We go to the opposite side of the rainbow where people are being torn apart. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, after 19 years, they have called it quits. And it seems like for Keith Urban, he's not looking back. He's already got a new girl. There are rumors going around. He's got a new girl with somebody that was in his band that he's seeing. Meanwhile, Nicole, if you've seen the movie Something's Gotta Give, she's kind of like Diane Keaton's character when she's sobbing into the book and she really misses this guy right now. She did not want this to be done. She did not want the divorce. But guess what, Nicole? It's done. Keith's moved on, and from what we can tell, he's got a new girl that he is spending his time with. So, that is the news of what's been going on lately in the entertainment world. What do we have today for you on the Pwamps Show? Well, let me tell you, we had a movie that came out last week. It's called A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. Colin Farrell, Margot Robbie. But right now, it's not great because what's going on online, on social media, Instagram, X, Tumblr, you've got people calling this movie The Big, Bold, Beautiful Bomb. That is not the title you want to hear when you've got a big movie that's being talked about with two A-list celebrities. So we'll talk about Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. We're going to talk about our movie that comes out next week on October 10th in Tron Aries. And then we're going to talk about our retro movie of the week, March 31st, 1995, Tommy Boy. I just spilled some popcorn, but you know what? March 31st, 1995, Tommy Boy with Chris Farley and David Spade. It's going to be a fun time. Let's dive in. All right, everybody, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. That is what we are about to talk about. Colin Farrell, he plays David, who is a guy who has absolutely no luck when it comes to women. And then Margot Robbie, she plays Sarah, who always gets in her own way when it comes to finding the right man. So, what is this little movie about? Well, to avoid a ton of spoilers, I'm going to give you a quick little glimpse. Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell, they meet at a wedding. They kind of immediately get attracted to each other, but they continuously get in their way. They are on and off again. Is it going to work? Are we going to get together? Are we not going to get together? They go their separate ways. They're expecting to never see each other again, and they leave the wedding. On their way back from this wedding, they run into each other at a Burger King. What do you know? So, David invites Sarah over for a burger. They talk for a little bit. They find out they're from the exact same place and came to that exact wedding and have now run into each other. Wow, okay, that's kind of an interesting little twist of fate. They head out to the parking lot. Sarah's car doesn't start. So, David, being the guy he is, thinking this might finally be a chance to connect with her a little more, he invites her into her car, says, hey, we're from the same place. Why don't we just get in the car together and I'll take you back. It's not that far away. All of a sudden, the car radio starts speaking to them and says, I'm going to take you on a big, bold, beautiful journey. Do you want to accept? They both are kind of like, this is weird. The radio's talking to us, but we're going to go on a big, bold, beautiful journey. So, what does this journey entail? It entails key moments from each of their lives where they have struggled to open up to others. We have moments where David, he goes back all the way to his high school days where he's in a play and he tries to confess to the girl that he loves, that he's in love with her, and she rejects him flat out in the middle of the play. Now Sarah, she has other moments where she's pursuing guys and she ends up turning them away because of her self-confidence, and her mom has now passed away. So she doesn't have the guidance of her mom. She was very close to her mom. So there are a lot of obstacles restricting Sarah from being able to open up and interact with a man that she really thinks could be the one. Anyway, we continue further down this journey. There are multiple stops. We find out that out of nowhere, Kevin Kline is in this movie. I got to say a quick little thing. I worked with a movie a little while back called Las Vegas. It was with Robert De Niro, Michael Douglas, Kevin Kline, and Morgan Freeman. Also, Mary Steenburgen was in that movie. And I played a young Kevin Kline. I did not know Kevin Kline was in A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. He does a great job. He really does do a great job. It's a small little supporting role, but it's a role that Kevin brings a lot to. And a role like that, you don't think you'd see a ton, but Kevin, in his Kevin way, does a really good job of doing it. And I will always appreciate how nice Kevin Kline was on the set of Las Vegas. So I was thrilled to see him in this movie. So we get back to our journey with David and Sarah. It's starting to come to its conclusion. We're still on and off again. They've had some chances of, okay, this might work between us, but they've also had some problems. And what do we get to? Well, it turns out Sarah finds a door. She enters the door, and her mother is laying on the couch. She has a conversation where she says, Mom, let's pretend that we're older. Mom says, okay, we'll pretend that we're older. And she talks about, Mom, how can I be so bad with men? The mom kind of laughs and is like, okay, what are you talking about? But then it's kind of a lighthearted conversation the two have about how Sarah could be better with men, acting around men. So she leaves, she gets back in her car. David, meanwhile, talks to his younger self after he's been rejected from when he was doing the play back in his high school days. So they each have a little moment of talking to someone really important in their lives that's telling them how to fix themselves and coexist with someone that could be the one for them that goes with them the rest of their lives. We find out David's had that talk with his younger version. He's sitting outside his townhouse. What do you know? Up walks Sarah, and they say they want to try to make this work. That is a big, bold, beautiful journey. Now, so far, like we said, it's a big, bold, beautiful bomb. You don't want this for a movie. $14 million right now at the box office. Pretty high budget. So not what the studio wanted to see, but hey, if you're a hopeless romantic out there, or you're just a romance fan in general, romantic comedy fan in general, then why not give Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey a try? It was interesting. It kept me entertained. So go check it out if you feel like watching it. But now we are going to talk about what's coming soon, and that is Tron Ares. All right, everyone, what is coming soon to a theater near you? Well, this week we've got Tron Ares. It hits theaters on October 10th, and the first thing I have to point out is what a ride Disney has at Disney World in the Tron ride. I went on this ride. A lot of people said they kind of were underwhelmed because it's so short. For me, I'm a roller coaster enthusiast. I love the launch. It kind of gives you that Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind vibe once you get inside, indoors. But what I will say, and as many people probably know, this is a ride to ride at night. This ride is so much better in the dark, and you feel like you are really immersed in the world of Tron. Props to Disney, and right now they have a special overlay on that ride in honor of Tron Ares. So, talking about Tron Ares, what do we have? This is the third movie in the Tron little trilogy. You had the original Tron starring Jeff Bridges, which was a big role for him, and it really got him going for Disney. Then you had Tron Legacy. He was back in that movie, as was Olivia Wilde. She starred in that as Quora. And now we arrive at Tron Ares. Jared Leto is the lead. Evan Peters from American Horror Story, who also played Quicksilver. He was in WandaVision. He was in some of the X-Men movies. He is in Tron Ares as well. And this will be ready to take you once again into the world of Tron. If you're a sci-fi fan, if you kind of like, Blade Runner, this is a great movie for you to watch. And once again, it's Disney. Disney's been getting back on the map lately with some of their films. Tron Ares will be a fun one. It hits theaters October 10th. Check it out. All right, everyone, it is retro time, and we are talking about March 31st, 1995, Tommy Boy hit our screens. This is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Scene after scene, you are hit with moments that make you want to roll on the floor in laughter. I will tell you, since I was born, I have watched Tommy Boy. My family would go on vacation for the summer, and we always watched Tommy Boy. It was a tradition. I mean, this movie stands out in my family majorly, folks. So, who do we have? We got Chris Farley. We've got David Spade. We've got Rob Lowe, who was uncredited in Tommy Boy, if you can believe that or not. And then we also have a great little appearance from Dan Aykroyd as Ray Zielinski. So, Tommy Boy, let's talk about this. Chris Farley and David Spade, they were on SNL. They were a dynamic duo on SNL. They became a dynamic duo on screens for a couple of movies. You had Tommy Boy, and then the next year, you had Black Sheep. Now, I'm a Tommy Boy guy. I'll tell you right now, people always compare the two. They say, which Spade, Farley movie do you like? I'm Tommy Boy. And I think a lot of people are Tommy Boy, but some people like Black Sheep. I think Black Sheep's good, but not anywhere near Tommy Boy. Now, let's talk about Tommy Boy. We open up. Chris Farley is attending Marquette University. He is sprinting through campus. He's late for his final exam. Everything's going wrong for Chris. He runs into a fence, hurts himself. He's saying, son of a, and just holding his head. Can't get anything right. He's totally disheveled. He's a mess. Finally, he gets to his hall where his class is. He goes to open the door. He's shaking. He's going, no, God, please, no. And all of a sudden, he sits down. He's given up. It's over for me. I'm going to miss my final exam. A girl walks up, she opens the door, walks right in. He kind of gets up, looks around, makes sure nobody's watching, enters, and he starts his test. That's where he writes on his paper, Herbie Hancock. Now, we get to our next little shot. He's getting his exam results. What are we going to see? Is Tommy going to graduate from Marquette? He comes squeezing through the group. Everyone's looking to see the result, and he gets a big old D+. Oh my God. I passed! And he gives this guy a big hug and he's going, I wish we'd known each other. This was a little awkward. He then proceeds to do a cartwheel down the hallway and all is good for Tommy. Now, we know he's making his way back to Sandusky, Ohio. That's where this story takes place. The small town of Sandusky where Callahan Auto lies. So, he gets it back to Sandusky, and his friend Richard, played by David Spade, picks him up at the airport. They have a great little interaction where David goes on saying, what number did you call? When Tommy did not call Callahan Auto, and Tommy goes 2, 4, 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, and he goes, uh-oh, you're trailing off, and did I catch a 9er in there? Were you calling from a walkie-talkie? Chris Farley responds, no, it was cordless. So, we get to Callahan Auto. Tommy meets his dad, Big Tom Callahan, who now Tommy is being raised at the company. He's probably next in line to take over Callahan Auto. At least that's what his dad wants. He presents him with this new office. Tommy walks in, says there's a big fridge where you can put a 6-pack of, and he stops himself before he says beer, but his dad's not dumb. His dad knows what Tommy was going to say. So we get started at Callahan Auto. They're about to show this new brake pad division to their new co-workers. Tom's giving them a tour, and Tommy has a couple of moments in here where he's just Tommy. He starts fighting with some hooks. He takes a brake pad. It goes flying through the factory, nearly takes somebody's head off. Lewis says, nice distance. and he is on his way to working at Callahan Auto. We find out, though, that Big Tom has another surprise for Tommy since he's now a college grad. They get back to their house. We find out Big Tom Callahan, he is getting married to his new wife, Beverly, and guess what? She has a son named Paul, played by Rob Lowe. Tommy goes nuts. He says, "A brother? I've always dreamed about having a brother." Next thing you know, there's a doorbell that pops up, and they go, "Speak of the devil." Tommy goes, "Oh, brother!" He hugs him, and he's hugging Paul, pops his back, and next thing you know, they're out cow tipping. So they go cow tipping, get a little sibling bonding, and then we jump to the wedding. Everything is good for the Callahan family. Tommy has graduated. Big Tom's getting married. Everyone at the company is there. They're celebrating this marriage is going on. They think it's great. Tommy gets up. He's going to sing a little duet with his dad. They're having a great time. Tommy's spinning on stage. Big Tom's letting it belt. And next thing you know, we see Tommy hitting a little solo. We turn to see Big Tom is laying back down, coffin style, body bag style, on the stage. He is dead, folks. Movie takes a little sad turn. We go to the funeral. Tommy's looking kind of lost. Things are not good now for the Callahan family. We then proceed to a meeting. They're all discussing we have to sell the company. Big Tom put us in a big hole. We got in way over his head. Things are not going great. That's when Tommy steps up. He says, "Hey, I can go on my dad's sales trip. I can sell these brake pads. I can save Callahan Auto." But Tommy just got there, so in order to do that, he's going to need a little help. He says, "I don't know a thing about these brake pads," but he does, and he points right at David Spade. He points right at Richard, and Tommy and Richard begin this big old-fashioned great little sales trip. They're on their way. They're trying to save the company. They've got numerous things going on, and they have many, many interviews to get to. We get to our first one. Tommy's in the car. Richard is grilling him on what are the values of Callahan Auto. What do we stand for? They get to the final step before going into this interview, and Richard says, "No, Tommy, we don't take no." He goes, "We don't take no from anyone. No. We don't take no prisoners. No, we don't take no for an answer. That's right, we don't take no for an answer. We don't take no for an answer." We get into a montage of interviews. Everyone says no to Tommy, and Tommy says, "Gotcha, thanks for your time. Appreciate it, thanks. Hey, okie dokie." And then he storms out. Richard is sitting baffled. He can't believe Tommy, after everything he was just telling him, Tommy is storming out of these interviews. Things are not going well for our duo of Richard and Tommy. This is not the way this sales trip was supposed to go. So finally, we get to another company and we get a maybe. Richard and Tommy exchange a little glance. They're like, "Wait a minute, this is the furthest we've come. We've got a maybe." Richard starts going on a little rant. He says, "Here we go. Here's some brake pads here. If you want to take a look at this." The guy stops him. He says, whoa, little fella. You're not speaking my language." Tommy gets a little chuckle out of this. He goes, "Well, I'll tell you what. Our new brake pads are really cool. You're not going to believe it." He goes, "See, let's say you're driving along. You're driving. Whoa, that was close. Let's see what happens with the other guy's brake pads. Now you're driving along, you're driving. Oh, there's a cliff. Whoa. Here comes the meat wagon. Woo. New guy gets out and says, "Oh my God." He's in the corner puking his guts out. Blah, blah. He's now lit this guy's model car on fire. And the man is just sitting there with this look of disdain. He says, "Get out." Tommy and Richard again exchange a little look. Richard says, he's trying to put the little fire out. He can't get it out. And then Tommy and Richard, they look at each other again and they go, Tommy goes, "Do you validate?" And he says, "Now." Things are not going well. But do things finally start to turn? We get on the road. There's a deer. Deer pops right in front of the car. They hit it. They're sobbing. They put it in their trunk. It's dead. They've now killed Bambi, is what Tommy says. Bambi is dead. And it's in the back of Richard's car. Things are bad. Things are really bad. It's looking dire for things at Callahan Auto and for all the workers at Callahan Auto. So where does that bring us? It brings us to our next little phenomenal moment. Things are sucking for Tommy and Richard. They're outside, they're driving. The deer has just had a major escape where it breaks out of the car. Things are going horribly wrong. And then a monumental moment. They pull over to the side of the road. Richard is going at Tommy, saying how big of a failure he is. He's a total mistake. Big Tom could do it all. He was like a father to me. I didn't have a father, but he looked out for me. Tommy, this is getting Tommy fired up. He says, "That's it, get out of the car." And he comes over to Richard. Richard's still in the car. And Richard goes, "Look, Mommy, the rhino's getting too close to the car." Tommy goes, "He's too afraid to get out because he's just a little guy." That gets him out. Richard is fuming. He says, "That's it, big fella. I'm going to wail on you." He takes it to Tommy, punches him a couple times, then lastly cleans his clock with a big plank and knocks him out. This brings us to a little restaurant scene. One of the funniest scenes of the movie. The song playing is "I'm Sorry." I'm sorry, so sorry. As Tommy sits there with the biggest bruise across his face from the plank he just took 30 minutes ago from Richard. They're just staring at each other in silence before finally Tommy, sitting with his arms crossed, goes, "Richard, do I have a mark on my face? It really hurts." Richard says, "Nope." Tommy goes, "How's your arm?" He goes, "How's your arm?" Tommy goes, "Well, my shoulder doesn't hurt so much, but my face does. Not right here, but right here." He goes, "Nope, ship shape." The waitress walks up, says, "Jesus God, what happened to your face?" "I knew it," says Tommy. He is mad that Richard got away with this. And then they go on to start ordering. Richard gets a little shrimp cocktail, but then Tommy says, "I'd like some chicken wings." She says, "Chicken wings, kitchen's closed." Not making any kitchen wings, fryers turned off, kitchen's closed. Tommy goes, "Well, I tell you what, some chicken wings would sure sound good right now, Helen." What's your name?" She says, "Helen." And he goes, "Well, Helen, let me tell you why I suck as a salesman." He pulls out his little biscuit. He gets in the bread basket, pulls it out. He starts going, "Here's my new sale." He goes, "I love my new pet, I love you." He goes, "And I stroke it, and I massage it, and I poke it. I love my little naughty pet, you're naughty." And then I take my little naughty pet, and I go, "Ah! Ah! Oh, I killed it! I killed my sale!" That's when I blow it. Helen is looking on like this guy has so many issues, but then she says it. The movie line in Tommy Boy that changes the tone for the rest of the film. She says, "God, you're sick." That's not the line, but that's what leads us to the line. "God, you're sick, ... I tell you what, I'm going to go turn on the fryers and I'm going to make you some chicken wings." David Spade's reaction, Richard's reaction, his eyes change. He looks at Tommy and he says, "Holy crud." How did he just do that 180 on the waitress? She just flipped. It went from, "Hey, chicken wings, nope, let me check. Nope, they're closed," to, "I'm going to go turn the fryers back on and make you some chicken wings." The movie has now changed. The story has now changed for Tommy Boy. We go to our next interview. They're at their new company. They're talking to Ted. He's saying he has to have a guarantee on the box. Tommy says, "Here's the deal. What about the guarantee fairy? What about the guarantee fairy? It's going to come steal some money from under your pillow. Build and model airplane," says the guarantee fairy. "Well, we're not buying it." So Ted, he's starting to buy into this a little bit. Tommy says, "I could give you a guarantee, but you don't need it." Ted says, "Okay, I'll buy from you." A lot of good stuff happening now for our duo. They're starting to make sales. They're going to reach their quota. Meanwhile, we find out that Paul is now married to Beverly. He's married to Beverly, who is going to be married to Big Tom. So, wow, that's a little shock. Didn't see that coming. He's now sabotaging everything. He tries to stop the trucks at one point. That doesn't work. A dog attacks him. A guard dog takes it to Paul. That doesn't go well. We then have him where he goes in to the office of Rebecca. He's sabotaging all the papers and the quantities of brake pads being shipped everywhere. And this time, he might actually succeed. It's not looking good. Tommy Tommy and Richard, they return back to Callahan Auto after thinking everything's been great. They've accomplished their mission. We find out they haven't. Paul succeeded. He sabotaged everything, and everyone at Callahan Auto is going to lose their jobs. This comes to our little conclusion now. We get to the final probably 20 minutes of the movie. Tommy and Richard decide they're not going to let this happen. They're going to Chicago. They're going to talk to Ray Zielinski, Dan Aykroyd, who is going to buy the company. They get to Chicago. Tommy walks in. They see Zielinski about to go in for this meeting where he's going to sell the company. He's going to buy the company out from Callahan Auto. Tommy walks in, and all of a sudden he goes, "Excuse me, everyone." Everyone falls to the floor. The cops are throwing their guns at Tommy. They think this is a holdup. They think he's about to rob the bank in this building. He storms out. He's terrified, thinking it's over. And then he sees a camera crew, and he thinks, wait a minute, I've got an idea. He takes them upstairs. We're in the room now with Zielinski, and Tommy has a big talk. He's got road flares strapped to himself. It makes it look like a bomb. That's the only way he got upstairs. And we get to our final couple moments where Tommy has a great little monologue talking about how this is an order for 500,000 brake pads to be sold in your stores, made by the American working man for the American working man. That's what Ray Zielinski has said in all of his commercials. He says, I make car parts for the American working man because that's who I am and that's who I care about. Tommy puts him on the spot for all of the American working men to see. What does that do? Ray cracks. He says, well, what does it matter? The company's going to be 10 minutes in mine anyway. Tommy kind of giggles. He knows, no, not with the news that Rebecca's going to drop on you. We find out it's then revealed the corruption that Paul and Beverly have and that he's been wanted for fraud everywhere. Paul goes storming out. Everything is null and void. Tommy gets to keep the company. Ray buys 500,000 brake pads. Everyone at Callahan Auto, their jobs are saved and all things are happy in Sandusky. Tommy and Rebecca get together. Tommy is the new president of Callahan Auto. He goes on a little speech saying how he knew all of these people. They were all there to grow up with him. He remembers that Lewis, they would burn ants with a magnifying glass. It was just a lot of cool little moments there of Tommy reflecting with everybody, showing how they were his family in a way. And that's the end of Tommy Boy. That is the end of Tommy Boy. It ends on a high note after all of this humor, after all of this great comedy and genius we see from Chris Farley and from David Spade. One thing I have to point out. On Saturday Night Live, Chris Farley was, I don't know if you could watch a Saturday Night Live skit without being fixated on Chris Farley. And I'm going to bring a sports little comparison into this because I'm a sports guy. Chris Farley during Saturday Night Live, at least for me, he was the quarterback. He made everyone else around him, whether it was a Saturday Night Live skit, whether it was Matt Foley, whether it was Phil Harmon, whether it was Christina Applegate, okay, whether it was Adam Sandler. He made everyone else better on that show. In his movies, he made everyone else better. He died at the age of 33. That is way too young. It's horrible the way he went. He was a comedic legend, a comedic genius who would still be around today if this hadn't happened. He was just unbelievable. Every time he was on screen, you had to watch Chris. He and David Spade, whenever they worked together, they were just phenomenal. It's horrible what happened to Chris. Tommy Boy is a great movie that will have you laughing from beginning to end. And if you watched it, you would know that. You probably were spitting out your milk and your cereal and your water and your apple juice and all your food that was in your mouth because it was that funny. Tommy Boy's a classic. It's why I've been watching it now for all 26 years of my life. It's tradition, and I absolutely love it. That is Tommy Boy, March 31st, 1995. And now we're going to go to our retro wheel, which has a little Halloween spin on it for the month of October. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, the retro wheel is back. Here's how this is going to work now that we're in the month of October. We are in spooky season. We've got about 4 weeks until Halloween, which is crazy. The year has flown by. And now what's going to happen is it's all horror movies until Halloween. Any little genre, any little decade that lands on this wheel, it's going to be a Halloween or horror movie. Let's see what we've got. We had the 90s last time with Tommy Boy. Let's see what we get here. Let's dive in. Okay, so we're going back to the 80s. What do we want to have for the... Oh, Dennis just dropped off actually the envelopes. Let's see what we've got here, folks. Here they are again. So we've got the golden age there. That's not the one we're doing, though. The 70s, that's a no-no. Not doing the 70s. And there it is. We've got the 80s. So, the 80s. Alrighty, folks. Here is what we were watching. This is a movie that I almost didn't know it existed in the 80s. I wasn't huge on horror when I was really, really young. I got a little older, love horror movies. This is a werewolf movie. We're going to be watching An American Werewolf in London from John Landis. Griffin Dunne in it. It is a great little movie. It's about a tourist who goes to London, becomes a werewolf. An American Werewolf in London. Pretty self-explanatory. But it's a good one. You might hear the name and go, geez, this sounds cheesy. What are we talking about? Twilight? It's not like Twilight, I can assure you. There's werewolves in Twilight. This is a real werewolf here. An American Werewolf in London. That is what we're watching this week. It's time for spooky season, folks. Get the candy, get the popcorn, enjoy An American Werewolf in London. Let's do it. If you like what you saw, everybody, subscribe. Leave a like. Leave a comment. We're watching American Werewolf in London. You know I love popcorn, but this is awesome.